I haven't used this account in a while, but I figured out a way to start making videos here on this account. I don't know how long I'm going to go on this one, because it's probably going to be a series. Just a whole entire series dedicated as to why I do not support the ideology of feminism. I believe it's an ideology of hate. I think it's an ideology of misandry. I think it's an ideology that pretty much lies to itself on what its actual purposes really are. If you all remember, 3 years ago, I made a video debunking a feminist's logic on porn. Her name was Nuclear Night, I believe. And God knows whatever the hell happened to her. Maybe she's off doing some BDSM activities or something. Who knows? But I feel I need to go ahead and make this video and this whole entire series based on the ideology of why feminism is such a failure in the modern era. Let's talk about the first topic that I really wanted to touch up on, and I decided to watch the video before making this one. And it was Rebbeca Watson's video where she basically talks about her walking into an elevator, going into that elevator, and being approached by a man in that elevator telling her, hey, listen, I find you very interesting. I'd like to ask you out for a cup of coffee. This was highly offensive to her. This was a matter of oppression. This was a matter of sexism and degrading nature towards the women of society. And this is where I garner many problems with the ideology of feminism. This is supposed to be a matter of oppression, asking a girl out to coffee. I hate to break the news to you ladies. I know this is just a crazy thought. But when it comes to the world of hooking up men and women, women are asked out by guys all the time. Whether it be in the sleazeball way, where you just go up to a girl and be like, hey honey, how about you and me in my house? Or in the more casual, more upfront, classy way, where you say to a girl, hey, you look very good today. Can we go out for a cup of coffee sometime? That is not a matter of oppression, dear. That is not. That is a matter of a man finding you interesting enough to want to engage in conversation with you. Therefore, he's asking you out so that he can get to know you a little bit better. That's not oppression. I mean, he's not trying to push you down and make sure that you don't get above him in his status based on gender. That's not how it works, dear. If I was in your position, would take that more as a compliment, more than anything. If somebody took the better interest in me. In fact, I'll say this right now. I have been asked out on dates. I've been asked out recently by 2 different ladies on dates. One asked me out to a movie, the other asked me out to a karaoke bar. Do you want to know what the first instinct in my head was? It wasn't, oh, this woman here is oppressing me because she's asking me out on a date. I'm sorry, dear, that does not work like that. The whole notion that this guy who took better interest in you because he thought maybe you were good looking, maybe you were doing something that caught his eye, does not necessarily mean that you are being oppressed. I mean, what is it now that all of a sudden that we can take anything in life where a man engages with a woman and consider it oppression? Especially as simple as a coffee date. What kind of example are you setting for females who want to be asked out? I mean, because that's the logic that we look upon, and we have looked upon for generations upon generations upon generations. A guy who likes a girl is going to ask her out. It's usually not the other way around. It happens, and I'm all for that. I'm all for it being a mix. But for the most part, a guy asks a girl out. He happened to ask you out in an elevator. And you call that oppression? I'm sorry, but here's the other point that I want to make. So, how can a guy... This is where I really get peeved. Because these same women that complain about guys asking them out for a cup of coffee are the same women that ask, where have all the good men gone? These good men that you want don't want to approach you. Because if they approach you, what their mindset is going to be is, this woman's going to think I'm oppressing them. Even though they're not, they're going to have that mindset because, God forbid, you get asked out for a cup of coffee. It's moronic stuff like that. This is just a sample taste of what feminism is. It takes a stupid, erroneous situation that could have been just dropped at the dime of a hat. And what bothers me more is that all you had to do was reject the guy's offer. There's nothing wrong with that. You can sit there and say, hey, listen, I appreciate the offer, but I do not accept. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just the nature of reality when it comes to guys trying to hook up with girls. Girls are going to reject them. It's just the way it is. You know what that guy would have probably done? He probably would have moved on to the next one. Okay? That's all you had to do. But instead, you took the situation and made it into a matter of oppression. And arrogance, too. That it's this so-called arrogance that you're not supposed to be approached for a coffee date. Since when have you become immune to being asked out? Alright? You can deny it. You can say, listen, I respectfully decline the offer, but I appreciate that you took the time to approach me and had enough confidence to take interest in me. You didn't do that. You went on video and considered it this oppressive nature. And that's where I have a problem with feminism, is they take situations, make mountains out of molehills, like a coffee date, and consider that oppression. There are many other examples of making mountains out of molehills. Anita Sarkeesian being a prime example, but I just want to touch up on the coffee date because that just really grinds me. That a guy who is just doing what nature has taught him to do, ask you out for a cup of coffee so that he can get to know you a little bit better. Maybe develop a friendship and develop a relationship. Maybe develop a marriage. I mean, obviously, yes, it's going beyond the boundaries of what you would expect. But that's how usually everything starts. It starts off with a guy having an interest in a girl having an interest in a guy. Maybe he didn't look at you and notice that you were smiling back at him. I don't know the situation. You basically were vague with the situation. All I know is that this guy asked you for a cup of coffee. You, instead of just denying the offer, you complained about it, that this is some sort of like sexist remark. It's not sexist, dear. If you want to kill sexism with guys asking girls out, how about we start telling girls to ask guys out just as much as guys ask girls out? That would be equal. But no, you're not going to partake in that because that would require the females having enough guts to do it. I'm not saying females don't have the guts, or I'm not saying females should. I'm saying from your logic. I would appreciate it more if women did it, because then it would be less stressful for both parties. But it ain't going to happen anytime soon. For the meantime, guys ask girls out all the time. It's nothing new. It's not oppression. It's not trying to hold you down. It's called being nice, courteous, and taking better interest in you. Maybe you ought to think about that before you consider it oppression. That's my first take in why I don't support the ideology of feminism. More to come.